There is a question circulating inside the highest levels of American intelligence right now that nobody in Washington wants to say out loud. What if the war with Iran is not actually a two-sided fight? What if a third player, one with nuclear weapons, a global satellite network, and a deep grudge against the United States, has already quietly entered the battlefield? Today, March 7, 2026, that question got a very uncomfortable answer. Multiple senior American officials confirmed to the Washington Post, NBC News, CNN, PBS, and the Associated Press that Russia has been passing critical military intelligence directly to Iran since the war began on February 28. Not troops on the ground, not missiles, something that in a modern conflict can be equally decisive. Precise, real-time knowledge of where American warships, aircraft, and military assets are positioned across the entire Middle East. One official with direct knowledge of the intelligence described the effort using two words: pretty comprehensive. To understand the weight of what that means, consider the situation Iran was in just 1 week ago. American and Israeli strikes had already hit more than 2,000 targets across 24 Iranian provinces. Radar stations, communication towers, command centers, air defense systems, all systematically taken apart. Iran's own ability to find and track U.S. forces on its own was deteriorating fast. Without outside help, its retaliatory capability would have been shrinking by the hour. Then came the satellite imagery from Moscow. Russia operates one of the most sophisticated constellations of overhead surveillance satellites on the planet. According to analysts cited by NBC News, that kind of imagery can pinpoint the exact location of a radar installation, a naval vessel, or a communication hub with a level of precision that Iran simply cannot achieve independently. And the results, experts say, are already visible in how Iran is fighting. Nicole Grajevsky, a Russia-Iran cooperation specialist, told NBC News that Iran's recent strikes are noticeably sharper than anything seen during the June 2025 conflict. The targets being hit, radar sites, command posts, communication infrastructure, match the exact profile of Russian air campaign tactics used in Ukraine. Drone swarms followed by ballistic missiles, going after the nervous system of a military force. That is not a coincidence. That is a playbook. 6 American soldiers from a U.S. Army Reserve unit based in Des Moines, Iowa, are already dead. They were killed when an Iranian drone struck their operations center at a facility in Kuwait. President Trump is expected to receive their remains personally upon return to the United States. Whether Russian intelligence contributed to that specific strike has not been confirmed, but U.S. officials are not dismissing the possibility either. The response from the White House has been deliberately measured. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said flatly that Russian assistance is clearly not making a difference because, in her words, the U.S. is completely decimating Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters this week that Russia and China are, quote, not really a factor. But privately, the picture inside Washington is more tense. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen said the Russian involvement reveals a growing and underestimated threat. A former defense official told RFE/RL that the Trump administration appears to be underreacting to what is effectively a nuclear-armed adversary helping kill American soldiers. The Kremlin, through spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, declined to confirm or deny any intelligence sharing. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spent the week calling for a ceasefire and urging diplomatic resolution, while simultaneously refusing to answer direct questions about satellite data. Vladimir Putin spoke by phone with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Friday, reiterating Moscow's call for an immediate halt to military operations. A senior Russian source told reporters that the escalation is already drawing global attention away from Ukraine, and described everything else as, quote, just emotion. That last line matters more than it sounds, because what Russia gains here is not just a wounded Iran surviving a little longer. Every day this war continues, American political energy, military resources, and media attention shift away from Eastern Europe. Ukraine, which is currently seeking a ceasefire agreement with Russia, now finds itself watching its most powerful backer get drawn deeper into a completely separate theater of war. Ukrainian President Zelensky this week confirmed that the US and Gulf nations are actively reaching out to Kyiv, asking for expertise on countering Iran's Shahed drones, the same weapons Tehran got from Russia and is now firing at American bases. The layers here are extraordinary. Iran armed Russia. Russia is now using those ties to arm Iran back, not with weapons, but with intelligence. And that intelligence may be contributing to American deaths. The Trump administration says it is tracking everything, and that unconditional surrender is the only acceptable outcome for Iran. But the harder question, what consequences, if any, Russia faces for what it is doing, remains completely unanswered. This war started as a conflict between two countries. It now involves the intelligence apparatus of a nuclear superpower, the battlefield lessons of a 4-year war in Ukraine, and American soldiers dying in Kuwait. The world got more complicated this week. Stay with Elora Updates. We keep breaking down every layer of this story so you always know not just what is happening, but who is behind it and why it matters to you.